Internet, good morning. My name is Tom,
What is up, guys? This is Danza, aka Crobat for the win.
and we are here bringing you Week 4 Power Rankings on the GBA channel. Now, this week wasn't as bad as last week, which wasn't as bad as the week before, but still some shakeups. We saw some growth. We saw some people running back, starting at the starting line and then just running back to it because, like, nah, I'm good. So, and then we've had some surprises of sorts, your good surprises, your bad surprises. Got the whole array. So, we'll discuss
yeah.
now.
Yeah, we've got a couple of Roy Regals today, and we've got a couple of Aaron Rodgers throwing into the end zone. That's my best analogy.
Yeah, that one. Right.
I guess we should get started. The first Roy Regal, number 12. We both had Steve.
Steve. Oh, Steve. With the sad face. Like, there's a sad face next to his ranking.
I feel so bad putting him there because the man is definitely trying when he builds his teams, and I think he has a solid roster. He just can't keep it together. Okay, let's look at his match this week. Unneeded first turn predictions. Kind of in the very beginning of his match, he didn't really need to predict so early. That was kind of one of the things I didn't like up front. Maybe the DC was a bit of a mixed bag for him. I will give him some benefit in that. He didn't get poisoned, but he got a higher damage roll. Okay. But he has to stop making risky plays if he wants to move up. T-Bolt was fairly obvious in my opinion against the Suicune. It's just he should have probably went to Gardevoir, Mega Gardevoir, which would have been his middle ground play. Is he unsure of whether that Goodra was going to go for an Ice Beam or Thunderbolt? Go to something that can take both. You can scout better that way. And plus you've got Hyper Voice advantage at that point. You can hit pretty hard with Hyper Voice. I just feel like, yeah, he had some terrible luck with the Rock Slide miss, but he just played really recklessly. I will admit, though, HP Fire Landorus was great. That was one thing I'd be cheering him on for. Right at the end of the game, I liked it. Overall, though, that was overshadowed by his really poor playing through some of it. He just has to stop making risky predictions. If he can do that, I think he can move up. I think he can get at least a couple wins this season. It seems like he's just throwing them away by making some stupid plays at times. Just relax, focus on safe plays. Maybe not even middle ground plays. Just focus on safe plays at this point, and you'll at least get a couple of wins. What do you think, Tom?
I don't agree with safe plays. Safe plays will kill you, and I think that middle ground is the bread and butter. Steve, I'm not necessarily sure I understand where you're coming from in terms of first term predictions. I think the knockoff, nothing wrong with knockoff per se. It's not like Geo had a justified user. I think we get double knockoff. That's what you were talking about.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
was a little too ambitious. That was, I mean, I could see why, because if he had assumed a Ditto or the Ditto was faster or one had won the speed tie and went for Volt Switch like he had thought, and then it went for knockoff, I can see it. Like, I understand it. Don't get me wrong. It just wasn't good, you know.
Yeah, I just think it
So
wasn't needed that
right,
early on.
exactly. Granted, his moveset couldn't really touch another Electros. I mean, why would it? So point is, yeah, it was weird. My two big issues with Steve this week, well, there was three really condemning things that I had to drop him for. Stop using Suicune as dedicated wall. It is not a dedicated wall; it's a setup tank slash late game type annoyance. He's using it, and we saw this last week when he switched Suicune in on Mega Scissor. What are you switching it in on as a wall? It's not a wall. This is not something you put max. It's max HP, max defense, but it's a tank. I don't see it as a wall. I don't think it should be used as a wall. It's a special sweeper, the tank thing. Anyway, I think that the Rock Slide miss sucked, but on the same token, he's been harping on this for 2 weeks now. I should have got a Stealth Rock up. I should have got Stealth Rock up. Then put it up. If you recognize the importance of Stealth Rock in the longevity of the match, then do it. I'm sick and tired of hearing, oh, I should have went for rocks because of X. Well, you didn't, so stop complaining about it. Like, and I don't mean to sound like I'm gonna attack him for that, but rocks would have won him the match last week because he would have got some crucial damage off in the later game, and in this match it would have also helped him because that raw damage that versus the stealth rock damage for the switching in would have put him in a much different position with Geo. I think it's like he sees specifically just going for damage, and that's been hurting him for 2 weeks, and I think it's going to hurt him continuously. If he doesn't get out of that mindset, he's not going to get that far. And finally, just I think the U-turn when Geo had switched from Goodra to Ditto with Lando T was better than him going for Earthquake. I think the Ditto switch was a little bit too obvious, and I think Steve, again, kind of just clicked buttons. This is what I'm talking about. When he's not taking steps forward, he's like running in the just backwards because he's done. Like just run. That's it. We're done. Go home.
Mhm. Roy Regals, man.
I was gonna say Ryan Leaps, but
That works too. But, yeah, I just want to clarify what I said earlier. I just feel like risky plays, these big predictions he's trying to make for 4 weeks in a row, have barely worked in his favor.
I mean, but we kind of knew this was gonna happen.
I mean, I feel like if he made fewer risky predictions, he would have been so much better off, especially the first three
Oh
weeks.
yeah,
There were a couple this week that also hurt him. What he needs to do is get a balance between safe and middle ground plays. Yeah, middle ground plays are generally better, but on the same token, he's not out to win it anymore. He's kind of just fighting for pride at this point. It would take a lot for him to come back into playoff contention,
yeah,
unfortunately.
I agree with that.
It's only 4 weeks in. So I think at this point, just to get a couple of wins, he's got to do something like that. He can't play super risky anymore.
Yeah.
So those are my closing remarks on Steve. I don't know if you had anything else.
Nope, I said my bit.
Alrighty. Alright, so we both also had Crimson at 11. We are also in agreement there. We dropped him quite a bit. You can start on Crimson. Go ahead.
This match, I enjoyed watching this match. I think it was good on both sides. However, I think that Crimson's team. First, I'm gonna start off with this. Do I think it's BS that Dan got to play Crimson twice? Do I think? Yes, I do. I think it's BS. Do I think that's sloppy schedule making that he got to play Crimson twice? Yes. There was really no reason for it. They're not in the same division in the conference. I don't get it, frankly. I think that that's an issue that needs to be addressed in the future. Granted, you can't do anything about it now, but I think it was kind of hastily made to have someone who's not in the same division play another opponent. Do we know how this is going to pan out in these two matches, week 1 and week 4? No, but I just think it's sloppy. That's it. Now, in terms of Crimson, I think he played really obvious starting in when he started the match. With Clefable and Nidoqueen, it was kind of like a rotating circle. Nidoqueen was switching to Clefable, or Chansey was switching to Clefable, and then Mega Sableye switching to Rhyperior, and stuff like that. It was kind of just like a rotating circle of what was being switched into what, and that beginning needed to stop if Crimson wanted to get any kind of foothold. He needed to ensure that he got Gothitelle in on Chansey, which brings me to the damn Gothitelle set. That Gothitelle set got me so angry. Crimson mixed the Trapper set with the support Gothitelle set. Now the Trapper set is the Rest, Calm Mind, Psyshock, Toxic set. That's the Trapper Killer set. The support set is the Toxic, Heal-Bell, Psyshock with some kind of filler move. And I couldn't wrap my head around that set. His objective was to trap Chansey with Gothitelle. That's what you do with the Gothitelle, especially in a league like this. But that set had no realistic way to kill Gothitelle. And I'm watching as the Gothitelle lost to Chansey when its job was specifically handle Chansey. And in my mind, I'm just like, you got to go for rest this turn. Why don't you have rest? What do you mean you don't have rest? You have Heal Bell. I don't know, man. That got me so riled up because why? Just why?
I don't know, man. No.
I know you can't answer, but that's my thing. So, I think Stone Edge and Rockwrecker on Rhyperior, a little weird. Do I like Rockwrecker? Yeah. Do I think it was weird? Yeah. You go, Danza, because I don't know what else I have to really read in all my notes.
I'll start off the token of Rockwrecker. All right, it's not the worst. I just don't know what extra KO. Is it like Stone Edge or Rockslide does 80% and Rockwrecker just secures a really important KO? Is that the case? I'm not sure what he was going for with it. If he was trying to secure some KO, then okay, I guess that's fine. I'm not going to complain too much. But if he just kind of threw it on for extra power, then I kind of don't think that's a very good use of his move slot. I don't know. Maybe he could have used some other coverage at some point. I don't know. I'm not going to knock him too hard for that. I feel like later in the match, or maybe it was early, I can't even remember the time frame, but soft boiling against
the Volcarona.
The Volcarona. Why would you soft boil when
he was losing
that? It's a losing battle when you're going against Fiery Dance. I feel like that was kind of poor playing. There should have been something else he should have done there. He
should have also scouted for counter. Does he not watch Dan's battles? I'm pretty sure he's used it on 3 weeks. 3 weeks of the 4 now. He's had counter. And no setup move on Gator? I don't get it.
How could you not run setup moves on Gator? I feel like that's the thing it does best.
If he had Sword Dance or DD'd on one of those turns, he won because he outsped everything on the rest of Dan's team. I'm pretty sure Nidoqueen was dead, and so was Mew, right. So Mega Sableye can't live a Waterfall or a Crunch or whatever he had at +2 or +1. Volk was not living a Aqua Jet or a Waterfall +1. And then Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash was dead too. And then Chansey had his, it was low. So if he had set up and not like a fool, like why don't you scout or even calc for the counter? You know it's there. To anyone, any coaches that watch this, well, two things actually. One, if you get personally insulted, which I wanted to mention at the beginning of this video, if you get personally insulted, don't watch this. And two, if you know your opponent, like if you've seen their battles, they talk about, oh, counter Chansey worked last week. Scout for it. You know it's going to be there. Scout for it. Like, come on.
Yeah, and I feel like counter is not okay. I have to bring it up at least once in every episode. It's not Fire Blast Gyarados. It's not from out of the blue. Never would have been expected ever. Dan has used it 2 or 3 times already, so I don't know how you couldn't expect it. I just didn't get it.
The 3rd week now.
Yeah.
Know your opponents, damn it. Know your opponents.
Yeah. So, like I just mentioned earlier, Fire Blast Gyarados will be brought up at least once in every episode. So,
killing me. Every time you say that, I die a little bit inside.
Hey, you used Fire Blast Mega Gyarados.
I said it once. All right, go.
Gothitelle. He brought it up, obviously. I feel like it was just kind of a weird mishmash. Obviously, he needed rest, most of all. I'm not sure what Heal Bell was for. Honestly, I'm not totally sure what Calm Mind was for.
Calm Mind was the setup when you trapped it. Even if you had Trick, like if you trick it and take it to Violite, it loses its bulk. So if you set up to +2 with Calm Mind and Side Shock, you almost knock it out.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, is the idea. Rest is to recover, Calm Mind, Side Shock, and Trick or Toxic. Toxic is to kill it slowly. Trick is to cripple it.
I mean, I feel like you're right. He kind of mixed 2 sets together. Do you want to prevent Chansey from using Thunder Wave and Toxic? Okay, fine. Heal Bell. Keep it. You don't need Calm Mind. Did you want to set up on Chansey? Then why do you need Heal Bell? It's not a Heal Beller. Use Rest there. I just didn't get it. I feel like Crimson brought a really weird team overall. There some certain sets and certain plays I didn't like, as I outlined. I just that's why he moved down, in my opinion. He's above Steve because he still has that win, and I think there were definitely those little flashes of good plays. I just didn't see a lot of them this week.
And I did knock him really hard. It was specifically because of his team building and because it seemed not sloppy, but it just seemed like half-baked. Like it wasn't in the oven the entire time. It was, it took it out early and, inside's not cooked. Oh, well, gonna run with it. That kind of bothered me, and that's why I kind of brought him back, because where other coaches are progressing in their building and their playing, Crimson's kind of taking a step back. And do I want to see him do better? Do I like his team? Yeah, I do. It's just I want to see it, and I'm not seeing it.
Hashtag soupy brownies. That's my analogy.
Listen. Soupy brownies is like cookie dough. You can just like eat it with a spoon. Like no real backdraw to it.
Except when you eat raw egg and you get really sick. So don't eat soupy brownies, kids.
Salmonella is a threat.
Okay, I think we're done with Crimson. All right, number 10. We're also in agreement. Nips. He finally moved up.
He finally won, better yet.
And he did a pretty good job. I can't deny it. I don't want to say I said harsh things, because I was just being brutally honest, but he proved us wrong this week. Yeah, he did win due to hacks. There was definitely that. But he finally, I think, showed that he put some time and planning into it. I think for the first time, it was more evident. There were times when he probably didn't do enough research. He didn't know Tornadus T got Sludge Bomb. I think that was kind of bad planning.
That hurt me.
He also kind of assumed it wasn't mixed.
That also hurt me.
I also died a little bit inside when he was praying for a 5% miss chance. Just saying.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, so those are kind of, I feel like they encapsulated the negatives of Nips' match, but I will say,
two other things.
Yeah. I mean, I'll let Tom talk about some of the other ones. I don't want to steal all of his thunder, because apparently he's stealing some of it. I thought there were some good plays in there, and he moves up because he got a win. Obviously, some of that hacks ended up helping him out. The paralysis, basically the last turn, I guess it is only a 25% chance, but it's a very real 25% chance, so I guess you got to give him some credit for it.
why you run it, I guess.
I guess so.
Um,
What are your
yeah, like
thoughts?
he said, I don't agree with him thinking that Torrenti was physical solely because he saw one move. I also don't think that it was a good idea to base on that, like you said, going for that 5% mishacks. It's air slash. It's not like it's hurricane. Will be much different in his commentary. And yes, I will bash commentary because if you say stupid things, I will harp on stupid things. Can EQ hit me even though I'm a flying type when it was like Excadrill versus Mandibuzz? Really?
I mean,
Um,
maybe he was devil's advocate. Maybe he was talking about
Mold
when he was
Breaker,
using
yes, I
Roost.
know. Well,
Like,
Mold Breaker.
oh, okay.
I understood that, but still, I was just like, what? You do
Yeah,
not just
mold
say that.
breaker flying. Yeah, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, no, I'm glad you brought that up, though. See comments? Don't say it. Breaking the fourth wall. Nips assuming that Hank will go for a Spore. I know that in the heat of the moment you kind of hope your opponent's going to make that type of flub, but it's Hank. Hank has good experience. Hell, he only has one loss now, two losses in a GBA type career. I have zero friggin' luck in this game. The crit Iron Head against Umbreon kind of facilitated Zam to get as many kills as it did. Because by breaking Umbreon early, it basically won him the game because he kept his sash intact. And then he did get hacked a lot, but bottom line, Resto Chesto with Sleep Talk on Snorlax, I get it. I do. I really do. But as always, I'll ask, why? With a big capital Y, like right on the screen. I don't get it. But that last turn, he got saved with the para. Sucks that he didn't get a para for 11 turns on a Moongus, but I can't really say anything about that because I did that to Steve. But for 14 turns with my Spiritomb Season 1, and you can go watch that. Granted, it sounds choppy as hell, but I battled him in person. That was a fun match watching Steve flip out when I didn't get paired with Spiritomb. Spiritomb's the champion. That foul play prediction though, when he hit Excadrill really hard, that was a good play. That was a really good
Yeah,
play.
that was one of those good plays. I feel like
He's
60% of the game was pretty good. Then maybe
yeah.
40 of it wasn't so great.
I'm gonna flop that. 30% was good. 70% was bad.
I mean, that's totally fine. I mean, I'll say 30% was really good.
Okay.
Then
All
maybe
right.
30% was yeah, okay, that's good.
He
And
is
then the rest was
progressing
bad.
though, and that's important.
So, yeah, I will. It's a huge improvement. I think he took 5 steps forward instead of taking 20
5 steps back.
steps back, like he
Yeah.
seemingly had been doing in weeks past. So,
Yeah.
and it was evident that he put more time and effort into it. I hope he listened to us. It looks like he did. So I will give him that.
I think the way he lost to John last week really rattled him, especially when he, last second, oh wait, Hyper Voice goes through sub. I think that really rattled him to get better, and I hope that continues.
I don't
So
know if
keep
he
going.
watches us. Maybe he doesn't because he's kind of down lower. But if he does, I'm hoping that we helped him out a little bit.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Hey man, don't assume they don't watch us.
I'm not
Listen,
assuming. I'm just saying if he does. Although once again, maybe because he's kind of on the lower end of the spectrum, he might not. If you
yeah,
do, Nips, feel free to comment.
yeah. Next one, Tup.
All right. So, do you want to go? All right.
I think that this was kind of a short and sweet match. I don't know if I have much to say. I just think that Shady kind of outplayed him. I think Tup got a little lucky where Romatisse had knocked out Conk early. Shady kind of staying in wasn't necessarily the right play. But, I think that Shady's had a better team. HP Fire, Mega Zam, that was really cool.
Technician boosted.
Yeah, exactly, right? I think that Shady just played on point, and I'll talk about Shady later because I have a few points with that. But I don't know. I think Tup he didn't quite have anywhere to stand, on this week. He didn't play incredibly horribly. It's just he didn't get a chance to play well. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably a bad thing. But I expect more in the future. I think he's growing, which is why he's ahead of Steve and Nips, Crimson. Do I think he's growing quick enough? No. And if he loses again, then I will blast him the same way I just blasted Crimson and Steve. Just want to see a little bit more. That's it.
This week, yeah, it seemed like Shady was always 4 steps ahead.
Yeah.
Tup just couldn't keep up. He kind of had a PP stalling strategy, especially with Aromatisse. That's kind of what I thought I saw. I do think he played decently well with Aromatisse, though. I can admit that. One thing I didn't like, common weaknesses with Cacturn and Heatran. I don't know why he didn't think about Superpower when he switched out Cacturn into Heatran, because that's very super effective, and that was a very easy middle ground play Shady had to make. go for the superpower, predicting the Heatran, because it would have KO'd Cacturne anyways. I wish he thought of that. I feel like it wasn't that.
Well, that's what you meant by 4 steps ahead. He just,
Exactly. I didn't think that was that not obvious that Tup shouldn't have made that. I feel like there were just better switches he could have made there. I will admit, like I said or you said, combination of us, Technician HP Fire was interesting for Mega Alakazam. He traced the Mega Scissor Technician, and that was cool. 90 base power.
I'm not sure it helped because it's a Mega Scissor and it's
It
kind of
probably
4x
not,
effective
but I thought it
anyway.
was
But
cool.
hey, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he just never really got any momentum, and he just couldn't keep up. I can't totally blame him for that. It just seemed like Shady was 4 steps ahead of him, like I said.
Yeah, basically.
Shady had command, but he's ahead of everyone else because it's still apparent that he planned. He had a couple of good things in his favor. Like I said, the Aromatisse was good. I just didn't see too many negatives. It was just Shady played that much better.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So that's kind of why he's ahead of Crimson, Steve, and Nips.
But not ahead of Geo.
Ooh.
What a transition. Oh, yeah.
Hey, we're working on these transitions. We're doing good.
I'm going to start calling Geo DC Geo because it seems to be just the common thing. 4 weeks now he's DC. Geo, what are you doing with your internet, man?
Why are you intentionally DCing, man? I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. That was a joke.
I mean, I was going to say that Walmart connection, or that 7-Eleven connection, your neighbor's Wi-Fi type thing.
Huh.
Let's see.
Before you get started, I didn't mean that. I don't think he's intentionally DCing. Don't comment that I said anything like that. Please, go ahead.
I think that Geo made useful but aggressive plays all around that match. Staying in with Goodra versus Gardevoir or versus Crawdon. Basically, if he had banked on Steve to really overplay, it was a better position for him in the long run. Now, that's what I'm talking about in terms of a good aggressive play and a bad aggressive play. He had banked on Steve to overpredict, where if he had stayed in regardless of the damage he would have taken, it still would have been good for him in the long run because it would have ensured that maybe he'd live or maybe he got a free switch. That's what's important instead of losing what momentum you have to try and make some over-the-top prediction. He was playing a safe, yet effective, but also necessary. That's important. I'm seeing these steps of good team building that allowed him to overpower Steve, which is bizarre based on how Steve's team was structured, although Steve's team structure is starting to become very cookie cutter. Like you can kind of guess 4 of them without really looking at his team, and you're probably right. It was a good first win. He played well. He almost slipped out. The match almost slipped out of his favor late game. But besides that, good game, good win, and I think he's going to keep going forward. He might challenge someone for a playoff spot if he keeps playing this well. Who knows?
All right. Hashtag DCGate. That's my starting point. First off, great job with Sapsipper Goodra. That was a great prediction right off the bat, basically. I was a big fan of that. He didn't make any... you said he played pretty safe, and yeah, he did. He didn't make any huge off-the-wall plays. I feel like he kind of benefited from some of the more risky things that Steve did during the match, as we talked about earlier. Overall, pretty good showing on Geo's part, although he did kind of almost choke the match away at the end. Obviously, we all know what happened with that, where the HP Fire Landorus almost won Steve the game, and it only took Steve not having Stealth Rocks up for Geo to seal the deal. I believe it was with Scizor, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Yes, Scizor won the game. But it was what he needed to win, so gotta give him credit for that. I think Tom highlighted a lot of the positive points. Once again, I only expect him to go up because 90% of this match was good on him. Like I said, the Sapsipper Goodra, some of his predictions were middle ground, pretty spot on, and there were some safe plays in there. I think he had a lot going for him. Hopefully he'll get to move up. Maybe he'll be into challenging a playoff spot or 2 in the future. We'll see.
I think he has the best chance to do so. Just
of the bottom half, except
Yeah.
for John, because in my rankings, but we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, he has the best chance of 12 through 8 of actually making a push.
Yeah, you mean Dan. We talk about John first because I feel like we can get through that faster.
Yep. All right. Gonna flip page here. All right. New Orleans Pelipper. John. Great prediction with rocks, even though damage was tempting. All right. That was the Empoleon right off the bat, pretty much. I mean, maybe he just clicked a button, but rather than just clicking a button and going for Scald, he decided to set up rocks, and that really helped him.
Basically what Steve does do, but John doesn't do.
Exactly. And Torrent Range Scald. That was nice. Great playing with Raikou, setting up some calm minds in Cooper's face. It really helps that Cooper didn't bring a defensive team, a Cooper team. It was kind of his experiment this week, I guess. I don't know what you call it, but we'll get to that when we talk about Cooper. Kind of scrambled to deal with Calm Mind Raikou, and Calm Mind Raikou just did work. John played very excellently with Raikou, and then Cooper got a crit. I heard it probably didn't matter.
Yeah, Cooper's calc was right.
But once again, after that went down, I think John played a little bit sloppily around Nidoking with the Tailwind. I feel like he probably should have thought of Focus Blast. Maybe he could have stalled it out if he made a switch to expecting the Focus Blast into Mega Venusaur. That might have been possible, just to stall a turn or two out. But still, got a pretty solid 3-0 win, and overall, John didn't fail to impress with his Raikou this week. And he's at my 7. You would think because of all the positive things I've been saying, he'd be moving up. He beat Cooper after all. The problem is, and this is the elephant in the room, he doesn't have a playoff spot right now. He is literally in 7th place in the whole GBA. I can't put him up there until I can knock someone down, if you know what I mean. I can't knock anyone else down right now into not having a playoff spot, because 7 and 6, those are magic numbers. You have to be a 6 or above to be essentially where I'd consider you're in the playoffs. I think John will move up. I just need someone who's in the top 6 to lose this week. Maybe someone who's 2 and 2 to lose this week. They will probably move down to the 7th spot. If John wins, John will be moving up. So he has room to move up. I think he will, most likely, because he's seeming to get on his game. That's pretty much all I had to say. He's at 7 for now, but really expect big things from him.
Main difference between 6 and 7 for me is that John's actually been tested. Yeah, it sucks that he lost those first two matches, but Shady got outplayed, Tuppy got outcritted. Nips didn't really count that week. Well, that was a win. And then this week I feel like he did prep so much so that this was an impressive win. Not just a win, not just okay, you won. It was an impressive win. And I'll say that because of the very first matchup he had. By going for rocks over damage, what you should do, he forced Cooper, and I'll say this and try to wrap your head around this, he forced Cooper to play within John's realm of play. Now, Cooper couldn't get creative. He couldn't switch out. He couldn't switch in. He couldn't be Cooper. And then from that, by getting lead sheet up, he forced Zardex to stay in early and therefore die early. By doing that, it opened a very good hole for John to get offensive momentum quickly in the match rather than later in the match. I feel like when John has to kind of assert himself offensively later in the match, he has a lesser time winning rather than when he can get it early and push his opponent onto their heels rather than him having to fight back from that position. Now, from there, good prediction by knowing if Cooper would run Air Cutter that week with Zapdos for Mega Venusaur. And then the timeout kind of helped John, but on the same token, it's not really here or there. Him setting up without Blissey, that was smart. I could see why Cooper didn't bring Blissey because of how much attacking presence John has and how many variety of things he has that can take down a Blissey, maybe even in one shot.
Yeah, I mean, especially on the physical side.
Right. I think him wasting Kyurem Black, you know how much that pains me. I love Kyurem Black. I think I'm 22 and 7 or 19 and 7 with it, not including MPL. But it hurt me so much to see that. I can see how the gears in his head were kind of spinning out of control after he had that crit with Earth Power. But I think roll that back, roll that one real mistake back. I think that John is gaining momentum. He played well. And from here, I don't see him losing that much. I think that the fact that he's only behind Shady by like one loss and like 3 differential, and then he's only behind Cooper. He's tied with Cooper 2-2, and he's only behind him by 4 differential. That after those first 2 weeks, he's in a great spot. Fantastic spot.
I mean, I will follow up and say, as I said earlier, if we see Hank or Cooper or maybe even Shady lose this week, don't be surprised if you guys see John up in the top 6. In my top 6. Tom has him at 6. In my top 6. He's very, very, very close. He's out by a hair, basically. And he has all the momentum in the world. I expect him to use it, and I actually do expect him to move up. So, my spiel on John is done. I had Dan at 6. I could talk about that very briefly. I said a lot in my spiel about Crimson. I just feel like, yeah, Dan did all right this week. There were some good things in there for sure. There were some things I wasn't a big fan of, but to be honest, even though he's kind of had an easy schedule, even though he's been helped out by hacks, I can't dock him to 7 or 8 or anywhere lower because he's 4-0. Doesn't matter how he got those wins. Completely ignore that. All he needs to do is basically get 2 more wins, and he's pretty much guaranteed a playoff spot.
You sound
6
like
is
the
the magic
comments
number.
section.
Huh?
You sound like the comments section.
Well, unfortunately, that's just kind of the way it is. And that's why I keep him at 6. He's the lowest of the playoff teams because I know I kind of sound like the comments section, but if he wins 2 more games, he's in the playoffs, and I have to put him somewhere, obviously. So it doesn't matter how he's winning. That's just what it is.
That's technically not true. If he wins 2 more games, he's 6-0. But if Shady also wins 2 more games, he's 5-1, and it's still nipping at his heels.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
if you
I mean,
check,
I think at that point he would definitely be able to seal or be very close to.
no, not with how Cooper and John are playing, because they would still be catching up behind him. And if he slips one game, he loses that top spot to the second spot. Point is, we're not talking about that yet. Dan, not tested. He's not tested, and I will keep saying that because he played a guy he shouldn't have even played in terms of schedule. Take it for what you will, and take it for whatever you want to call me. But like I said, that was sloppy, and that shouldn't have ever happened.
Yeah, and
Um,
I don't disagree with you there either.
right,
I mean,
right, and that's fine. Comments are, but you're okay that you didn't. I think that it was convenient that he got the missed Stone Edge against Rotom, and say what you will about that. But really convenient for him was the crit knockoff against Chandelure. Chandelure would have gotten big damage against Mega Sableye. Granted, Crimson had lost the match at that point because of the whole Gothitelle shenanigans. But I think it's really convenient that he got that knockoff kill. It just really isn't. It really isn't a Dan match unless I see some sort of huge notable crit. I think that Dan had this match. That whole Mega Sableye Chansey getting 2 kills each. All right, cool. That was cool. But, still not sold. I'm not buying it. I'm not going to buy it until I see him play someone in the top 6 and not win due to hacks.
yeah,
And you all can come fight me, and if you get insulted and you're a coach who watches this, please
and
save it.
and that's why I keep him at my lowest playoff ranking at number 6. Once again, I can't emphasize enough that his on base percentage right now somehow or other is 600, but he's batting 200 or 250. He's in practice. Yeah, he's okay, but he's been playing easy teams.
Okay.
But he's still somehow getting wins, and the season's 40% over. Like I already said, he just needs a couple more to almost lock up a playoff slot, and that's kind of why I do think he's gonna make the playoffs. But he's gonna be on the short end of the stick. He's gonna be at the end of the pack, probably last in the pack, unless he proves that he can get some impressive wins later in the season. And that's where I definitely agree with Tom.
He agrees with me.
So we're not in total disagreement there. So
Not this week, at least.
no, we got a lot of similarities here, but we do have a difference up on the horizon next. Hank at my number 5.
Hank at my number 3. But you talk about Hank, and then I'll discuss Shady. Then you discuss Shady. I'll discuss Hank.
Yeah, he had an interesting game this week. Obviously, he basically lost at the end due to that para hacks. I mean, that's kind of why Nips wanted the para, so that way something like that could happen. I can't totally say that it was unwarranted, if you know what I mean.
Right.
I thought his Tornadus T set was good. It certainly caught Nips off guard. I kind of just dropped him because 2-2, kind of on the fringe of falling apart 2 games in a row. I feel like he's getting very discouraged overall. That's kind of my biggest problem right now. I want to see him not be discouraged. I want to not see him make some weird plays in the middle of the match. If you know what I mean, that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. He seems so discouraged that some of his plays, I don't know if he's thinking as clearly as maybe he should. I feel like he's putting unnecessary pressure on himself to maybe get a win after what happened the week before, and I feel like that's kind of what happened this week. And that plus hacks, I think, really got the best of him.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say this is the case. Maybe he didn't expect a huge challenge from Nips either, being that we've had him at number 12 and he hasn't been doing anything. Maybe he just kind of puts them together. I don't know, but I'm not going to say that's a fact. But something like that, I feel like it was kind of his big downfall this week. Beyond plays on the field, that's kind of why I put him at 5. There were a lot of good plays, a few bad plays, a couple things I liked. Like I said, the Tornadus T was solid. It caught Nips off guard, certainly.
Shouldn't have, but it did.
Yeah, it did, somehow. I feel for him, but I just don't want him to get shaken by this. Hank, when you go into next week, when you go into every week, in my opinion, this should be a message for everyone too. You're 0-0. And don't care about who you're playing. Don't even look at the name of the person you're playing. Just look at the team. Think about the best way to combat it. And you will probably do a lot better than you think. And then once you build a team, you can make corrections and fix things by thinking about that person's playstyle. But factor that in after. That's my advice, basically, for everyone, not even Hank, just everyone.
Don't get shaken and then let that kind of paranoia hold on to you as the season goes on. However, I do think that his planning was what I'm keeping. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to talk about Shady. My bad. We're talking about Hank. I think his planning was good. I think it was smart to make Nips's Mega Altaria a liability, like you had said, by planning around it, kind of using that as a guideline to plan around. I think that Scarfed Rapid Spin was interesting. It worked, and it was definitely effective. The one thing that I had wrote down on my notes was he had a sassy Umbreon, and in my mind I was like, why not call careful or calm? But then when he passed the baton pass into Tornadus T, he went second. Now I don't know if that made a difference, as if Umbreon would have outsped and Tornadus would have potentially gotten damage. But I thought it was really cool how he was very successfully able to do that. Danza, how often have we seen that in the GBA?
I don't think we've seen Baton Pass yet, to be honest.
Well, I mean,
I don't
Baton Pass
recall a
and
time.
Wish, and seeing it be used effectively is impressive to me.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't been used effectively.
Yeah. I do think that the Hacks was really kind to him, except the last turn. He got that sludge bomb poison first turn. The crit clear smog that probably would have killed Hawlucha, but it was helpful. The crit knockoff, which killed Rachi or put Rachi really low. No pairs for 11 turns. That sucks for Nips, but I mean, it sucks, and the match was kind of leaned in his favor until the end. I hope he bounces back. I think he's on that fringe now, where if he does lose again, it's kind of basically the message from that point on is get your shit together, or this is gonna turn bad real quick.
Yeah,
That's it.
and that's why I know you had him at 3, and that's your message. You're kind of a little bit more lenient, but that's why I'm putting him down at 5, because there is that bit of a red flag. He has to win this week if he wants to stay in the top 6, because I feel like John's basically nipping at his heels now to be in the top 6.
Yeah, basically.
He's definitely vulnerable, and in a lot of ways, you could say Cooper's vulnerable too, because he's 2-2 as well. It's a tough race in the top 7, and only 6 teams make the playoffs.
I think it's more possible though for Cooper to bounce back, because
I think it is. I think you're right.
Yeah, he can adjust. I think a little bit easier. But what about Mr. Shady Penguin? You go, Danza.
Regirock hype.
Yeah, Regirock.
I thought that was cool though. That he brought Regirock for the first time. I thought it was definitely a well thought out team. Very good first turn. Fairly safe middle ground play early in the match. Shady, you've come a long way.
Yeah,
I can't deny it. Great job. First turn already. And with Regirock, I thought this was impressive. This isn't necessarily Shady, but he hit 4 Stone Edges in a row. 41% chance right there of hitting 4 Stone Edges. Just wanted to point that out. Knockoff on Crobat, that was very nice. Good prediction on his part, I thought. I wasn't a big fan of his playing with Conkeldurr. The switch into Aromatisse I thought was really risky. I probably would have gone into Milotic, especially if it was a competitive Milotic, which he has run. Because if you got a special attack drop, you're getting a special attack raise. So I would have probably rather seen that. But I will say that the Aromatisse walled a lot of his team, so maybe it was worth it to get a Poison Jab off. Maybe not the best play. I wouldn't say it's the worst, but I didn't totally agree with it. I loved Gunk Shot Ambipom. I thought that was best play of the match. One of the best plays of the whole week, to be honest. He did great predictions with predicting around Sucker Punch with Cacturn. Superpower with the Mega Scizor. I mean, I thought maybe this was a little bit more of a misplay on Tup's part, but I still think that him going for a Superpower instead of a Bug Bite or a Bug-type move on the Cacturn, going for the Superpower instead, which is still super effective, predicting the Heatran, the middle ground play, once again. Shady has been doing a lot better with middle ground plays. I feel like that play right there was very good. I would have probably, later in the game, I would have tried to keep Scizor, though. I probably would have switched Melodic into Mega Alakazam. Maybe that's just a nitpick. I think maybe at that point he thought that he'd won and he didn't want to make any really risky plays. Maybe if he just decided to go for, I don't know, a psychic or a Psyshock and maybe with 2-hit KO. I don't know. Just saying, maybe I would have gone into my Lodic. I just thought safe plays at the end. He didn't need to fear Cack turn. Got a solid 3-0 win as a result. Final notes for this match and for Shady. He is a generally good command over middle ground plays, predictions, and planning. He's a contender this year, no doubt. And he's number 3. He's at the top because he's been moving up. His only loss this year was really kind of due to hacks. He has 3 other really solid wins.
Yeah.
Overall, I don't have too many complaints. Basically, some of the Conkeldurr plays I might not be the biggest fan of, and I think maybe he should have used Melodic a little bit more to switch into stuff and not maybe sack off Scizor so recklessly. But I'll let that be because he knew at that point, I think, that he had the game. Maybe he could have saved some differential, but that's all right. 3-0 is good. He's doing well. Your call. Go ahead.
I think that he needs to adjust a little bit as to how to use Conkeldurr. I like seeing knockoff. I think this is one of the first weeks he's used knockoff and not some very off-the-wall set. Not a bad set, just off-the-wall set. I love seeing Regirock and Ambipom. I think that he's really coming into his own. He's making these teams that are not only... I'm sure he has fun making the team, but it's also fun watching him make these plays. What's really impressive to me, and probably why I should have spiked him up a little bit higher, and I probably will next week because I kind of have this post-ranking fondness for teams. Last week was Molvone. He's not second-guessing himself. When he was in versus Azumarill with Ambipom, he just clicked Gunk Shot. He didn't freak out about it. He didn't go off the wall. He didn't question himself and say, oh, should I really do it? Is it worth it? Should I calc it? No, he did it. And Ambipom lived that hit from Azumarill. And he killed with Gunk Shot. He hit it too as well, and along with all those stone edges. But he hit it, he killed it, and he didn't second guess himself. And he didn't freak out about, oh, this is gonna miss, this is gonna miss, this is gonna miss. And to me, there always seems to be one really quick match every week. And this match was the quick match. It was quick, it was to the point, it was fast, it was 1-for-1 almost all the way through. So a little bit of slowness in the beginning in that, early midsection, but I think that Shady's just coming into his own. He's playing incredibly well, and he's a contender and a well sought out contender and someone who can really push for it overall this season. So
yeah, as both of us, we got to see him in season 1. Huge change, huge improvement. Kudos to him. Also, I'd like to point out the odds of hitting 4 stone edges and a Gunk Shot, 33%.
Amen. that's higher chances of getting a crit.
That's true.
I am drinking iced tea, by the way, so go ahead and make your memes.
Yeah, I got a nice bottle of water here, so. All right. I think we're done with Shady, though. I don't think I have any more words other than he's doing good, and I look forward to watching his content and his matches.
I really do
in the
enjoy
future.
watching his battles. Like every week, I look forward to it.
I look forward to watching his GBA content.
Yeah,
Sometimes sometimes when I'm short on time, I might put it to X 1.5, but it's still audible.
Man. 2, we do 2 all day. 2x, because I understand what they're saying all the time.
I sometimes do too.
Cooper, hey Cooper, preface, and all you Utah Jasmine fans. Yes, he's at 4. Like neither of us could justify him at 3. So whatever wrath shall come, we are prepared, and I'm going to say it's to Cooper. Face adversity head on. I think you can do it. You got it. Also, but I was still kind of scared at the end though. Those eyes. Ooh, those eyes.
I know, man, I know. It could be a lot worse this week now that he's not at 3. We know what happened last week. It could only get worse this week.
Yeah, let's see, Cooper. Kind of an outlandish team for Cooper this week. I think it was a 4 showing. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen worse from Cooper, but on the same token, this is not Doomsday Armageddon bad for Cooper. It was just an off match. We all have him. I know I had an off match against him, 6-0 off match. The crit didn't matter with Nidoking. I think Nidoking was kind of his saving grace, along with the light screen as well as the Tailwind. I think the way he used Whimsicott to kind of prevent all that, and the way he has set up Whimsicott, whether it's shown in game or not, it's really smart. I like him. I like seeing him use Whimsicott. I know it was a big concern on my end when I had played him the past 2 seasons. Scarfed Aggron, wow, you don't see that every day. And now this might be the wrath that's forthcoming, but Cooper hasn't missed a head smash yet.
Oh man.
Whoops.
How many head smashes has he used?
1 against me, He had one against Hank, one against John. I think he used it once again in season 3. So he hasn't missed a head smash yet. Whoops.
So that's what you just outlined 4 or 5
4 or
times.
5 head smashes at 80%, right?
That is the same probability of Shady hitting 4 stone edges and gunk shot, 33%.
Sorry.
And if he keeps hitting them, let's say he hits 9, only 13%.
Yeah, but I just jinxed him, so it's the commentator's curse. Might get more eyes from him at the end of the battle.
Oh man. Okay, so my thoughts on Cooper. Hyper offense, man. That's not something you see every day. Honestly think I see raining cats and dogs before I see Cooper with hyper offense. Well, that's what I thought going into this week. Then I saw Cooper use hyper offense, and I was puzzled, no doubt. Because he had such hyper offense, he was scrambling to deal with Calm Mind Raikou. It seemed like the bulkiest thing on his team was Choice Scarf offensive Aggron, and that's kind of a problem. Maybe Zapdos, but that was an offensive one anyways. So that I thought was kind of a problem. I feel like this was just a failed experiment on his part to go hyper offense. Maybe catch John off guard. That's kind of my takeaway. The crit earth power, yeah, it didn't matter. Most likely, I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure it didn't. It just seems like he had, other than that Nidoking play, and other than the Focus Blast where John maybe misplayed a little bit, he didn't have a huge grasp on John's team. He kind of struggled to deal with Raikou. He got saved, differential rise, by that slight misplay, as I said, the Focus Blast, and just overall by Nidoking. Once again, this was kind of a failed experiment with hyper offense. If Cooper wants to win, I don't think this is the way he's going to have to do it. If he does, he needs to go more mixed, more balanced, and not completely tip his scale, because he's definitely more of a stall-based player. I don't know how well hyper offense works for him. So I don't think he's nowhere near out of it. I just think this was his off week, like you said, his failed experiment. Whatever you want to call it, he's not out. He's going to be nipping at John's heels. They're going to be nipping at each other's heels, to be honest. He's a contender. He's still up there. Number 4. Not number 3, so I'm kind of worried about the horrible things that will happen this week. An avalanche will fall somewhere. An earthquake will occur. I have no idea, but I am just scared.
Someone's going to get a crit to end all crits or something.
I don't know. Whatever it may be. Something will happen, and I'm scared. All right.
Face adversity.
Alrighty. I'm done with Cooper. You have any final things to say?
Nope. I'm going to start the next ranking. We have Miguel and Mulvone at 2-1 because they are the best. And as you can see, Mulvone is pretty much a huge, spike up from both of us. More me than Danza. I think Danza had a stronger kind of grasp on Mulvone, and I apologize to the doubters. But first, about Miguel. I can't knock Miguel that hard. I think that this might have been one of his hardest matches so far. The miss on Megalop with high jump kick, that sucked. However, his Megalop Bunny set was really cool. I like seeing the double coverage. I think Megalop Bunny has a very wide variety of moves given to it throughout the different types of different generations. Because, it gets Healing Wish and stuff like that. Gets Encore, I think. Miss Ace, yeah. High jump kick, that sucked. But him trying to double switch mid-match to get the momentum back in his favor didn't necessarily work out the way he had expected, but it was a good attempt. That mental war in the beginning was actually pretty awesome. I was laughing watching that. I liked how he was going back and forth and trying to make sure that he got rocks up and seeing if Mulvone ultimately lost that whole exchange with the rocks rapid spin, but it was really smart that it was really kind of calm and cool for Mulvone to keep his head in the game the entire time and ensure that either Hippowdon kills him and doesn't get rocks up, or he keeps rocks off the field when Miguel keeps going for rocks. Miguel saying that if there was any justice in the world, he'd miss Hydro Pump, is kind of asking for a lot.
Yeah, 33% chance. Let's not forget.
Yeah.
Same as the Stone Edges and the Gunk Shot. Go on.
However, Mulvone hitting 5-5 Hydros, wow. Oh my god, this week, oh man. People hitting these percentage moves is certainly something I'm not used to be honest. Yeah, the big crux that happened was the happiness. Yeah, it sucks. He didn't know that if you don't gen it with your name attached to the Mon, the happiness doesn't stay. Do I kind of, condemn him a little bit? Yeah, like 1%. Yes, it sucks. It really does. But, if was out. If he was a little more familiar with it, it wouldn't be such a big deal. He said he didn't know how to check happiness. There is a happiness checker in game, as there are in every game. The Gen 6 has been out for a year and a half. I get it. It sucked because you're making a liar out of me because I said Stoutland's going to get more kills than Talonflame, and it would have happened this week, and you're going to make a liar out of me because of some small little nitpick rule in terms of a move in this game. But I could see how Miguel could have won. He didn't win, and that's why my vote for Mavone to do much better is why he's higher. So it was a good match. Mavone played well, got Toxic Heal up on Gliscor. Yeah, it was just a good match back and forth with one real big thing that kind of changed it from Miguel's side to Mavone's.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in pretty much agreement with everything. The highlight of the match, in my opinion, Move getting that Gliscor's Toxic Heal up. First,
Yay!
protect. Clap.
Oh, man, so good. Hey, he finally got it up. It only took 4 weeks, but man, you've never really seen that before. Where I guess Gliscor never really did the best in the GBA. I know you had it for 2 seasons.
Yep, and it was okay. I mean, but the problem was ice type coverage. Everyone ran HP ice. So
Or Ice Shard, they had something on their
they
team.
had something for it. And that was a big problem. And just like people ran HP Electric for Gyarados, they ran half their team ran HP Ice, half ran HP Electric. That's why I'm not a huge fan of X4 weaknesses, because you can run hidden powers to cover them.
That's why I hate Terrakion so much. I do. I don't care if anyone else doesn't. I do. Any closing thoughts, Danza?
Just overall, I feel like Miguel did have some good luck, did have some bad luck as well. Yeah, mostly the bad luck at the end, though.
Yeah, basically.
That was kind of the worst of it. High jump kick miss as well. At least he won the stalemate with rocks, I guess. I think it was just a very back and forth game until that final Stoutland thing at the end. There has been some news leaking out, though, that Miguel has been abusing Stoutland, and Mavone won as a result. Animal abuse, virtual animal abuse, is not a good thing, so it's not illegal anywhere in the world, so I don't know, maybe the league needs to look into that, I don't know. And I hate to say that, they're very, very, very close. They're neck and neck in my book. They're both going to be big playoff contenders. There's not a single doubt in my mind. Mavone, from the pre-draft power rankings, has done a complete 180, or from 12 to 1, because Mavone's 1 is, you're going to see right now.
Yeah, outside of that, I think this week was entertaining. I didn't watch all the matches on Sunday, but I did look forward to the matches I wasn't able to watch. I think some of them were really fast. I think some of them were really slow. And watching these matches week in, week out, it's interesting. It's really interesting to watch how these are unfolding and how each coach is planning and really breaking it down. I'm enjoying this. Hope you guys are enjoying this. Dan's, are you enjoying it?
Definitely.
Perfect. So, that's this week's Power Rankings. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, comments and discussion in the comments below. I know I check them and I enjoy checking them. I know the GBA account checks them. And yeah, create some dialogue and discuss. So, without any further ado, I've been Tom.
I've been Danza.
Have a great night. Have a great day. And peace out, guys.
Peace.